Alright, you ready up and... Oh cool, you've got a mic. I can't wait to hear it.
Maybe next week.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll eventually get like a mic stand and maybe like pop filter and stuff so I can actually have better mic quality. But for now it's just sitting forever away from me on the desk. Hopefully.
Man, I can hear you pretty well.
Okay, cool.
That matter.
It's just like picking up background sounds and desk sounds that is often an issue. Oh,
I suppose. Um,
This is a really interesting map.
yeah, I've been having a lot of fun on it. It's also a little tricky because like I'll want to spawn here, and players will spawn here, and then they'll be like coming at my base down this way when I assume they're over here. So like I'll have made an extra con,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah, they have kind of weird pathing. It's not a straight line, but they can cross.
This looks like a map that I have a lot of fun with. Cause like I'd be tempted to shove my commander across the map. And then like expand with cons in the other direction kind of a thing. Or you could just sit con at base. The other start pods I'd probably want to sit con at. Like one corner I'd want to like push com across the map towards the enemy side of the map. The other position I'd want to expand with cons in one direction and keep my com at base. But I think overall the better call is to start in the position where you can push the com, but that's generally the way I just approach things. Push con one way, push cons the other.
It's hard to say I have one way to play it. I kind of change things up just for the spice of life, I guess. In some ways, that can be my downfall because, you know, trying new stuff and doing stuff you're not used to can, you can mess up.
But, well, maybe a single game, but long-term grind stuff like that is great.
Yeah.
I wonder exactly how many max start you could do on this map. And like what the trade-offs between them is. Because it's such a defensible map.
Oh.
Like where...
Low power.
Okay, so Tix can path across there. I assume Lunge hasn't played this map before. Because otherwise he'd know that. Oh. also imagine that for like a start where you do a lot of mexes, you'd probably want to put like your initial cons building energy first rather than going out and building more metal first.
Unit lost.
Both of you have gone for such a slow start. I guess you figure.
Why did we go for a slow start? Why did we go for a slow start?
Yeah.
We don't end the game in 2 minutes, I guess.
You're wasting energy. Unit lost.
Oh.
Jamerz, you know building that metal extractor would get you more metal production faster than building that energy converter?
It's not a matter of getting it faster. It's not wasting any more energy.
Well, getting extra metal is more valuable than not wasting extra energy. Like, because if you build that metal extractor an extra what, 9 seconds faster, it gives you 18 metal. Versus if you build the converter 9 seconds faster, it gives you 9 metal. And so it's just straight up better to build the metal extractor first. Especially because building the metal extractor first doesn't actually delay the converter for that 9 seconds. It delays the converter for 6 seconds. But you build the converter first, you delay the extractor for 9 seconds. So that's like losing 18 metal versus losing
Unit lost.
Versus losing 6 metal. Or something like that. I have a feeling that math's wrong.
He was overflowing metal? Oh, sorry, energy?
Yeah, he was.
He was, so energy was not a problem, okay.
Yeah.
So that takes 10 seconds to
Aircraft
build
spotted.
that converter.
Yeah.
Compared to around 5-6 seconds, so it's no matter what a loss that close.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah,
after
he loses...
that, if he don't, but if it's such a minus plus minus difference, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, min-maxing, yes. But if you're gonna do everything on the same time,
You're low on power.
Yeah. Well, because that is a thing of like a 12 metal
Unit
difference.
lost.
But you repeat that a bunch of times, that can be like throughout a game, those kinds of efficiencies can add up to like a couple hundred metal.
yeah, definitely. But
Yeah.
still trying to figure it all out, those numbers, from how to scale properly.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing what I like about the game. Don't like the fighting, don't like the just the scaling.
Yeah.
And what's actually the number on the metal how much metal is actually the metal? Guess two.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
P2 unit detected. You're low on power. You're wasting energy. Unit lost.
Oh.
Commander destroyed.
Alright.
Battle ended.
Banshees. Banshees. Killing me, man. Literally. Hey man, airplay is fair play, but I'm allowed to give you crap for it. My right as the victim.
Hard to know what to say about this game when I haven't played this map. I'm kind of wishing I'd jumped in and played a game first. But there are definitely certain things that could be said.
Battle started.
So firstly, this 5 mech start from launch. Something I want to encourage you to think about is if you add all these extra metal extractors before your factory, then potentially what you're looking at is number one, like
Lack of build power.
a bunch of metal that, when are you going to use this metal? What we see actually is that there's no use to most of that metal for an extremely long period of time. And sure, we lose those to ticks, which would have been even more metal in storage, which means a lot of things could have just happened faster if you had just simply built 2 mexes, for example, even. 2 mexes, then your factory, and then you move on, and grab the more mexes. And as well, like, something like just add on more wind generators, earlier than you add on these metal extractors. For example, this constructor, rather than building these mexes, he just built wind generators. And now a lot of that could have been saved. You could have had an extra 4 or 5 wind generators by now if you hadn't lost these mexes. But that's that's like sort of step 1. Be very keenly aware of anything in storage that you're not using, and have a plan to actually use it. Now, that can also go for a lot of units. Say the units that are sitting out here, these aren't really doing anything. We've got Jamerz with these units just sitting around there. These units could actually be forcing in here, forcing into his base, slowing down his eco, if nothing else, just by forcing him to build more units, more defenses, more whatever. And so you want to be keenly aware of, like, what do I have that's like actually doing something? I could, by a similar token, say it's like, hey, you walk a bunch of constructors out here to build this one mechs and then a bunch of laser towers. Firstly, I think it's just one constructor to begin with. It takes a full like 80 seconds for a constructor to walk out over there to begin with. Then if we add a radar tower and then we add laser towers, this constructor is building this at 2.8 metal per second, which means even with this metal extractor, he's actually accumulating resources for you slower than what you're spending to defend that area. Now you can rejig that a little bit by saying, for example, okay, this might be providing defensive value across there, but just be aware of that. Make sense, Jamerz?
Yeah, it does.
Especially when you invest another couple constructors to work even further out to over there. That's 2 constructors taking almost 2 minutes.
And just to run this idea by you, like what I was kind of going off of in this game was, at this moment, it's kind of a transitional period where I'm keeping units at my base because I'm not fully set up yet. And then once I have like, build power, storages, and like stuff like that, where I feel like I can move my army out and my base can defend itself, then I move out. Just because I've been having a lot of games recently where I try to be aggressive and then like I get caught off guard. So I'm trying to practice more stable play and like push with more army later and not worry so much about the early stuff. At least the people that I've been fighting, it's just not as effective.
That's fair. And I would be cautious about spreading yourself too thin. But I'd also be cautious about identifying and getting to a point where sooner rather than later you have a, say, a mobile military or even static military defensive position that you can freely go and move your army out. Because you're relatively safe, whether you do that with vision, whether you do that with a commander or laser towers, or just have a larger standing army. I agree that this map is a relatively weak one to be going out and attacking on, because just the middle mechs it's so sparse compared to like the sides where all the eco is. But just be aware of that and the amount of army, especially if you don't know how much army the enemy has, is what I'd say. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of things. I launch this here, this radar, this construction turret. What was your thinking behind it? And where are you typing? Are you... Oh, hello, you have a mic.
I do have a mic now.
Awesome. Sorry, can you explain this construction turret and what you were thinking with it?
So I noticed that there's a ton of reclaim on the geo. So I'd use that reclaim to fund the geo close to my base. And then when I get better, when I have more economy, I'll send a constructor over to that geo and use the construction turret to build it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I would just suggest that you move it next to the 3 mexes so that when you go T2, it can upgrade the geo and upgrade the mexes.
Can I also suggest, rather, this factory could have built a res spot, which would have reclaimed at the same speed as that, wouldn't have slowed down your expanding constructors, and would have given you the energy impulse a lot faster into your economy.
Honestly, I was gonna build one there anyway, so I was thinking I might as well build it early and use it for reclaim.
Man, I would be building storages if I was you right now, just because like you're lacking build power, I would give myself some storages for some breathing room. Like, it's not the most efficient thing to have to build them, but if you're in that situation, that can really help, smooth that transition period.
And
I
guess,
very much underestimated the amount of metal that's on this map.
Okay, rough rule of thumb, especially with wind generators, you want to think about how many wind generators per max is. Let's say on this one, approximately, let's go for 2 wind generators per max. Maybe you want a third, actually. So with a con walking out here, 20 seconds, that's 1 wind generator. 20 seconds to build a max, that's another wind generator. So you're sort of looking at on the order of like for every 1 con walking out here, you build a wind generator. But then you've also got this constructor walking over there, so you want maybe a couple cons in your base. You sort of have the construction turret, but the construction turret's also been using your resources that you've got from other things in order to like build the aggressive force. So kind of think about that. If this commander had sat in your base building wind generators rather than walking out here, because it's not really done much for the entire walk out here, right? We can see it's like 108 seconds of commander walking out there. If we go 108 seconds, it takes the comm about 5 seconds, 5 and a bit seconds to build a wind generator. You could have an additional 20 wind generators already. And like, you've got about 20 plus a little extra. That would almost double your energy and economy. Which, to be honest, right now, it's more than you need. That amount of energy. But that's also the kind of time I'd be thinking like, hey, well, you're building this Jira here, but what do you need the energy for? I guess maybe to add on the expansion for all of those, but you build this Jira, you're going to have a lot of metal that you can't use to like build army if you're building pawns or whichever. I mean, I guess you went into aircraft after.
Yeah, I was planning on spamming Banshees, hoping for a con snipe, but then Jamerz beat me to it, so that like threw me off my game.
Beat you to which, air or comm snipe?
Air.
Air, right. Doesn't really look like it's beat you to air.
Well, he sends some fighters over my base.
Okay.
Right before I get to critical mass. So I'm like, oh shit.
Right.
Better go now before he builds up enough AA.
Yeah.
Then that was a giant APM stall.
Yeah. And Jamerz, over here, the other thing I wanted to address with the idea of doing nothing, aside from the resources you've had in storage, which could be like build things, build order concerns, if you think about this army here and how large it is compared to his army, you've been building that army up for a really long time, longer than you needed to be building up. And there's some value to the surprise of that, but especially past this point here where you've already engaged with him, he's already got all the information to know that you've got an army coming in. So why are you backing off here? Jamerz?
I guess I was just being careful because my pawns were running up into their range, and I don't want the pawns to be the first ones to engage.
Okay. So pull the pawns back, sure. Why aren't the rest going in?
I think I was distracted by this air.
Okay. And queuing anti-air.
Yep.
And solace, because your energy's going down.
Yeah, it was awkward. I should have been more prepared for this because heavily expected for there to be air for like the mexes on top, and yeah, I mean just that alone, you know, prompts air, and then you got
Yeah.
banshees, shurikens, etc. So I should have been more prepared. That was my bad that he even got away with that. It's not even the first time that's happened. Like, shame on me, right?
Yeah. And then you start moving as soon as you've got a spare moment, you move the army in.
Yeah.
What I want to argue is he wouldn't have had a chance to build up these banshees and attack you with them if you'd have just attacked with our army. I think there was an overabundance of coercion to the point where if we look at this army, this could have been a T2 lab that he had. Like, not just a T2 lab, a T2 lab and a fat boy or something like that. You have destroyed some amount of army, but easily, and the fact that he's got a T2 lab, there could be 2 fat boys here waiting for you to walk in. And
I suppose that's true, but I would consider that a misplay because I hadn't seen his air yet. Like, if he didn't go air and went T2 instead, I would say that's a misplay.
Right. But
well, I didn't worry about him going T2. I
guess
assumed
what I'm trying to emphasize is this amount of resources that you've spent on this army without appropriate forcing him to make an equal investment in his units. This is a massive amount of resources that has been spent on things that aren't giving you a return.
You're right. I could have been more aggressive with it to not allow him to feel so comfortable to make a Banshee push. But I'll take my silver lining of peace of mind. He didn't push me. No, but you're right. Could have been more forward.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Yeah. And the final thing I'd like to emphasize here for Longe is the idea that you've got this sort of an army coming in. You're building gunships, and you're building a T2 factory, and half build a fat boy. In this sort of a situation, what I would highly, highly suggest is to invest in ground-based static defenses. The reason for that is 200 metal and you get 266 damage per second. With a Banshee, have they buffed it? 135 metal, you get 38 damage per second. You scale that up, you're looking at something like, you're looking at 60 damage per second for the price of a beamer. Not only that, beamers build extremely quickly, and you've got a lot of resources in storage that you can't use when you build something as slow as a Banshee is to build. In the same time you build a Banshee, you can build more than a single beamer. And so that's, I mean, I guess looking at it, you use more energy up when you build the Banshee. But the beamer's a little better in terms of getting that down. Not only that, the beamer, once it's popped down, it also takes damage away from your allied your other like eco structures. So if we think about what's 1,430 health worth of units, a wind generator is 200. So 1,400 is 7 wind generators that won't die because he spends, or that will take longer to die because he spends time building the beamer. Whereas this army just ignores the fire from these and will just come in to absolutely trash the land objects. Makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. What I was thinking was, when I first saw Jamerz army,
yeah,
I was like, you know what? I think I can get a fat boy out and destroy that. If he skirmishes with my army like he's done in the past.
Yeah.
That obviously did not work. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I gotta build some stack defenses, and then I realized I put all my build power on the air lab only.
Yeah.
So I gotta use that to make something of use. But it couldn't reach the other stack defenses.
Yeah.
Protect my T2 lab, so
Yeah.
for my retaliatory push.
And I guess that makes a very important point. Build power is it can be used militarily, whereas your eco can't really. So it should be at the front of your base, not at the back.
I think just because the build power is at the back of my base was the reason why I died to this push.
Yeah. Okay. So something I'd like both of you to focus on is these expansion paths, getting them smoother, faster. Don't waste time along the way with the geothermal, especially where the build power is low. Make sure you get this first, and then you can claim the metal first. Then your constructors out here, for example, they can either defend, they can build whatever, or they can come back build this, and then come back build that, or something like that. Or you can sound out constructors later. It's going to, like, you spend how many, like 30 seconds building this construction turret? That's 60 metal per mex up here that you're sacrificing in terms of metal production. It would be cheaper for you to skip that construction turret and build a bunch more constructors back here. Way cheaper. Especially if the construction turret is not going to do stuff for a long time. So make sure you optimize this extension path for the metal and focus on building your energy back in base where your build power already is sooner. Then figure out how to provide pressure against the enemy that gives you information about what they're doing and allows your units to be somewhat useful in terms of actually being able to pressure them and incite a response, static defenses, whatever, so that A, you know what they're doing because they're responding to you, so you know what they're doing, B, so that they can't just ignore you and your units just don't go to waste. So focus on those two things. Can we run that back then? Actually, can I...
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can I jump in and play a game just to get a bit more feel for the map? Awesome.
You don't have to lie. It's okay. You just want to play.
I'm
Totally reasonable.
I played a few games the other day when I was very tired, and I played extremely poorly because of that, and I have been struggling to convince myself to be interested in Bar since then.
Starting location.
I sadly understand the feeling. Okay, you could play like garbage and I'd still revere you as a great player. It's solidified.
Thanks?
Oh?
Thanks? Maybe?
That's definitely thanks. You can't be bad, right? That's the highest
Okay.
honor.
Cool.
Like,
I most certainly
you could be
can.
doing something.
Or,
You could be doing something terrible, and I'm like, brilliant or blunder. I can't see the genius in it yet.
Yeah, all the games I played today have been slow. Me basically ignoring my front and being able to eco in the back because my opponents have sucked.
I mean, even good players will choose to pork up and eco. It's a play.
I mean, it was like AVA on those special maps. So lots of mixes, lots of space.
I thought you meant 1v1s.
Oh, and I haven't played a 1v1 in a while.
Okay.
Closest thing I got to that was a 2v2 on Isthmus. Where I gotta do a lot of fun shenanigans.
I believe it. Forget about your side mexes.
Okay.
Everybody.
Low power.
No, I haven't forgotten about them.
Unit lost. Unit lost. You're wasting energy. Enemy commander destroyed. Battle ended.
Alright.
Okay, that was kind of embarrassing.
What, the com?
Yeah, I forgot my comm was half health. Yeah, I thought I could dig on those two LOTs, get out of there, and then send my maces on.
Yeah.
But it was looking
I
pretty
actually
strong.
think you should have lost when you first walked in those LLTs. Like if
I don't know
Yeah,
if I
should've.
noticed the
walking
first time
after
you walked
you.
into them.
Actually, no. I think I could have won because I had units coming out my lab straight for my column. So
Yeah.
I mean, not what I saw. All I saw was you take 2 LLT shots to the face, and Bell could have walked you down.
I didn't
It would have
see
been
them.
pretty close if you got away.
yeah, I was like, oh shit, and then bam.
Alright.
So I have a question,
Yeah.
Master Bell. So you went for a lot of cons on this map. I was wondering what kind of clued you in that you could do that? Was it just like not a lot of pressure on it, or how did you
Well,
make that decision? I guess.
What do like what sort of at what point do I have a lot of cons? Now?
Yeah, I mean, like opening, you just made like 7 grunts total, and like 8. I think you had 8 cons queued.
Well, at this
Like
point,
total.
I've only got the 6 cons, and I'm going into full grunts. So part of that is that I know scouts take a long time. I fended off his scouts. I've sent my own grunts across the map, and I've seen that he doesn't have a lot. My commander's also heading this way, which shuts down this as an avenue of attack. So this is really the only avenue for attack. So I don't feel like I need that many grunts to defend it. And especially at this point, this is about when I decide I can put out more constructors. The reason I'm deciding that I can put out more constructors is because I've pushed his I pushed his army across the map. I can see he's basically got only a single pawn there. And then very shortly I'm going to discover that this is very vulnerable and I can go and harass that and kill that. So all that sort of stuff is feeding into my decisions on where I'm going, what I'm doing with my base. And I do want to point out, even though since about the start, Longe has had like an extra 300 metal, like metal produced, our metal used, I've been pretty consistently ahead of him in metal used the entire game. And yeah, sure, a bit of that's gone into energy production, but that's left me with higher energy production. So I'm going to continue from this point being able to spend more of my metal. And so his extra 300 metal that he's produced, well, overall, by my reckoning, he's 300 metal behind. Is what I'd say.
I see.
And so, yeah, in this sort of a situation, I just go like, okay, I can't go in here, commander's there, maybe I could have done something against that pawn, but I don't want to do it. I'm going to leave these 2 here for vision, and I'm going to send the rest around and see what I can see up there. He's now forced to build army, so he can't continue scaling energy, and his base is not set up for it, whereas I'm very much set up for scaling any energy in my base. I can continue to do that safely. So he's now going to get even further behind. I mean, I didn't think of a rare spot. That would have been a great idea, actually. But he's now going to get even further behind in terms of energy. I mean, he doesn't need as much energy as me. His armada pawns don't cost as much. But that sort of puts him in a bit of a bind where all his build power now is building pawns. While now that I see that I'm very safe, I'm even in a sort of dominant position over here. I can destroy a lot of his army. I can very safely go. It's like I don't need to keep building army because I'm destroying his army. I can add on another couple constructors for eco, resume expanding. Does that all make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but if he's going full into army, wouldn't that theoretically, like I'm just talking about like knowledge you knew at that time,
Yeah.
wouldn't knowing that he's committing into army mean that that might potentially leave you vulnerable?
Okay, so there's a couple things on leaving me vulnerable. Firstly, he's fighting his army up here, and I know that he's gonna want to fight with his army up there. In theory, he could just send his army across there, but then I just keep killing him over here. So that's one thing. The other thing is I know he's building army because I know he didn't have much army. And so I know he's building army to fight me off, and looking at this, I totally could have killed these. And, or maybe in Vex as well, so I coulda, shoulda paid more attention there. But I know I had that army advantage over there. I just killed a bunch of his, so if we look at this here, I've killed 7 of his pawns, and I've lost 6 of my grunts. So that's a tangible advantage here. I've also killed metal extractors, so that's also a tangible advantage that I know I'm getting ahead now. And so all of those can be like, okay, I have time to build like an extra, say that's a 140 metal difference. I can build an extra constructor for that and still be ahead in army. Now we can take that a little bit further and go, I've destroyed 2 mexes. That's going to be additional metal that is down. I can also put extra into army because he doesn't have as much metal to build it, although he doesn't like, he's not using any of his metal anyway. So all of those, and then if he sends his army up here, then that's gonna take him, once he's over there, it's gonna take him like a full minute to cross the map over there. I can build multiple constructors in that minute, and then by the time he pushes back over here to like the equivalent place on the map, maybe he goes over there or something, I can match that with army. And maybe I don't have a full minute, I'm not going to spend a full minute doing that, and I don't need that many constructors anyway, because I don't have that many things that the constructors can actually do. So I'm only going to build a couple more constructors to build wind generators to match the constructors that are expanding this way. And that's just going to match it, that's going to balance out my eco, and I'm going to be fine. Now, one mistake I have sort of made here, I've been building enough energy for, like, if I was building thugs, and I haven't been really building enough energy for grunts. So I'm, like, actually gathering metal in storage here. Yeah. And so, see, at this point, I'm massively ahead in eco, and I had the ability to continue pumping grunts.
Common.
Okay. Yeah, I could have just chased him down there. I even had grunts that could have come and helped.
A common, like, overarching strategy I've seen for this map, like, for commander paths, to walk, like, the long length of your own territory, because it's safer, and it's, like, the fastest Vex expansion, rather than going up forward. Because then you grab, like, 5 Vexes, and maybe those two entrances into, like, your main base or whatever, but it's often better to just walk your commander a long way and take more econ, and then you make another lab on the other side, and then you effectively you know, split your base in 2, which is nice. Like you saw in my game, I had another lab, so I wasn't dead when my initial one got raided by air.
Yeah, I know that's an option. I tend to prefer this kind of an option. I think that's a stylistic difference more than anything, but it kind of, in my mind, lends into splitting the map this way. And I prefer a this way split. I prefer this kind of a split setup. Now, I have also made a bit of a mistake here where my comms stopped expanding this way, so I didn't really need to keep having so many constructors building wind generators. And so I'm actually shifting a huge amount of energy production back here, which is like way too much for what I need. It's one of the reasons I believe that I was outcompeted on production here, aside from the fact that he just has more metal in storage because he hasn't been spending it. But yeah, my comm isn't really all that able to build these thugs as it should have been able to build them. Because I'm spending a significant portion of my economy back here. Like half my economy or more, where I really should just turn this all off to fund this in this sort of a situation.
Did you not want to eat your lab?
I did eventually. I was just slow making that transition. So that's one of the things I should have transitioned. I also see I turn off my energy production because I'm like, I've got way too much now. But would have also been useful is having some sort of a like bring constructors up here and get like heavier defenses so that I can actually defend this. Because I don't know exactly how much resources my commander can use. These two can use together. It looks like just about 30, so not the entire resource per second. So I could match him, but that's not a great place to be pinned, and so it would be good to have some additional production elsewhere. My mind is I'm going to go for the Geo because I've got extra energy now, and I'm just going to scale my eco here and just stonewall him there. This draws all his attention, so he can't afford to push me through there, so he can't expand from this point. Because I've got this pressure here, and then he's pinned against this pressure here, and so he can't move. I just need to do this in a little bit more robust way so that he also can't push me out of here, even though he has to sit there and defend against me. Interesting.
Oh, I just realized you could probably build something over that edge. Like
Yeah.
it would be spotted for sure, but
Yeah,
it
well,
would be.
Battle
Watching-
ended.
Watching last game, I was thinking about that. It's like, maybe I could sit calm there and build, like, a couple laser towers in the factory. Like, even just one laser tower, you kill both of that. Plenty of worth it.
It's true.
Also, I don't know how long these were idle for, but I could have had even more eco if they just kept going.
You could have had an energy storage as well.
I could have, yeah. I didn't really need it, though, because my eco was mostly balanced most of the
hear
game.
those words. I don't want to hear those words. Everyone build an energy storage right now, all the time.
Alright, is it time for round 2?
Do you want a rematch, or do we throw Jamerz back in, or...
It
Wait,
doesn't matter to
having-
me.
Solar panel, which means he's got some stable income as well, which means
Yeah. Well, I did the solar panel because it allowed me to get my factory out faster, which allows me to walk my farm forward faster
no matter
and
what,
stuff.
very stable. It's basically a very stable way of having the base economy running.
Yeah.
So totally agree on that part.
I think
no
that
matter-
we should transition to that. I still can't remember the name of it. Another new map. Let me find a replay.
The new one that just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let's play another one here. We can do the other one next week.
Yeah, Aethermore Creek is the other one.
Let's do the other one next week.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
You are now playing.
So did you guys see a little bit about the idea of like the pressure and the utility of that in controlling the map?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why you would want to prefer the side that has the longer like pathway for the commander to walk rather than the cliff side for facing the opponent.
Starting location.
Seems it gives you a lot more room.
Yeah, I don't know. I often try and go, I don't know what to call it, like towards the other geo, like the other end of your little island. I used to go there with my commander, and then I don't know, like everyone that I fought that just walked their commander the other way ended up winning because they got eco a lot faster. Because like the commander expands pretty fast, and it's fairly safe. Like you're essentially staying in base the whole time because this is all backlaned as long as the map is split horizontally.
Yeah.
So it just seems like the more stable option. But I see Master Bell's point,
Yeah.
like coming up here and then you're applying pressure onto the enemy.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you don't need to use Commander
loosening
to
pressure.
apply that pressure. I do it because I am addicted to that pressure, but you don't need that. You don't need to walk the comm that way. I do it for two main reasons. One, the comm has guns. I'm gonna put the comm somewhere I can use its guns. Number two, those mexes are just closer. And so I tend to prioritize early metal rather than long-term production of metal. Like,
Makes sense. Why do I lose my whole building queue when I change factions? I can't even place a new building.
I don't know.
Oh,
That's
weird.
weird and it shouldn't work like that.
I know.
Oh, I just noticed that. That's whack.
Yeah.
Oh, it removed the widget. That's what happened.
I didn't realize pregame queue was a widget. But I suppose that makes sense.
I mean, basically everything you see on screen is a widget.
Yeah, well, semantics.
Battle started.
Good luck. Have fun. Don't die too fast. Alright, I don't have a queue. Like, why are you standing there?
I guess I'll win now because I have the 1 metal per second increase, whatever.
It's alright.
Oh, no.
You can take the handicap.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it.
Ah, you're good. I don't even. I might need the handicap.
Yeah, my APM is not what it was this morning.
Why, just skip the max lunch.
I want to get that OOT out faster,
Alright. Fair.
and I'll grab the one with the other ones.
Alright. Okay. It's just you lose something on the order of like 50 metal by skipping that instead of skipping a later max. I mean, in the short term, not that you'd be using that anyway. Okay, Jammers, you see how you've got control of the area now. It's safe, you know you can expand. You know he's responding to you, so he might have a slight expansion advantage, but now he's going to have to respond to your pressure and positional advantage. You do need to make sure you micro that army and keep it alive, though. Because if you lose the army, then you lose your pressure, and then you're on the back foot. And then you have less expansion, no pressure, and so you just get choked out instead. The other thing is that you have an army sitting in no man's land, which could have walked to somewhere where they could have shot something instead. And so it would have been worth giving them that attention. I can talk about that in the replay.
Yeah, that wasn't a decision. That was APN stall, lack of direction.
Yeah. But make sure you're giving that APM to that army, and that make sure it gets first priority. You don't want to be building that queue right now. You've got army that could be doing stuff. In fact, half of that queue was actually completely wasted time that you could have done stuff with your army. You want to be queuing when your army has nothing to do, not queuing when your army has something to do and it ends up idling.
That makes sense.
And I'm in no uncertain terms you could have won the game by now if you had not built that queue. And that queue hasn't even been hasn't even been started to be executed yet. Because all those pawns that just killed that army, none of them were built, and none of them were going to be built. You could have already killed all his mexes and wind generators and potentially cons as well.
Alright, this is me just taking my commander out of the base without making him build turret. Or enough cons.
Yeah. But it's also Jamerz. Conveniently, it gives Jamerz a very useful feedback on the idea of like pressure and what you can do with pressure when you get it out. So that was unintentionally a help to him, but let's run it back and see if we can both do better at that.
Commander has died.
I guess my little change, it did help a little bit, but then I absolutely dropped the ball on like everything else. So
something I'd strongly suggest actually is if you're gonna send your commander out in that direction, don't send the cons out in that direction. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, say you're
I was very surprised to see him there.
Yeah, because the cons and the commander, if they both walk in the same direction, they sort of have this conflict with each other. Like, your cons, like, if your cons build the stuff, that means your commander can't build any on the way. But then your commander sat time building stuff so that the cons could go out there and do stuff. So I think you'll work it out. If you don't send the cons out there, then you'll probably get for example, just send the commander out earlier. You'll actually get more things built in less time, even though you've got less build power walking in that direction. And that's partly because you've got more build power at base doing more, so your commander can actually afford to leave significantly earlier. So try that.
Wait, you have a website?
I do, as of quite recently.
That's pretty fancy.
It's heavily plagiarized from a template, but it's a template, so you're allowed to plagiarize it.
Nice.
Make sure you tell other people about it, because it's pretty cool.
You should pin it in an Academy chat.
Maybe.
This queue thing is bugging. Like, anything you put down better be final, because it doesn't want to take anything back either.
What was that about?
I had put down 3 mexes and like 2 solars, but I didn't really want the second solar, so I right-clicked to remove it, but it didn't. So, on top of it disappearing, it also doesn't like to take things back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Longe, do you have more of a plan to deal with the initial metal this time? What I'd say is your comm just builds more wind generators and you aim for like extra energy, boost out constructors, get them on the factory initially. Sacrifice expansion speed a little bit more in order to actually get the resources out to use your extra metal and energy that you've invested in.
Yep, I got a super secret plan.
Cool.
Super secret, huh?
Hey, girlfriend.
Well,
Nothing
now
to-
I'm intrigued.
What's that stinky smell?
Not me.
Oh, I think it's Jamerz. He's sweating too hard.
I'm actually not, thank you.
Wants to win.
Oops.
Jamerz, don't
Oh,
look
hello.
away from that.
Unit lost.
Could have destroyed
Is
a
that
lot
timing?
with that grunt if you'd have just paid attention to it when you look back to it.
Hello, Jamerz.
Damn.
The other thing you can do is just stay away from where you know the factory is gonna be. And initially like plan for it to go around the other mexes rather than the factory. Yeah, so Jammers, you send your army around, add 2 things to your queue, and then head back to your army and see what it's going up to. Now, what would be cool? A widget that, like, I can just press tab and it will draw on the screen like your rectangle so I can see what you're looking at without having to lock to your camera. That would be awesome. I've got to do that.
Sorry, say that again.
Like, a widget that draws, like, the view rectangle of your camera on screen so that I can see it without, like, locking to you. So I can see what both your cameras are doing at once.
Suppose that would be interesting, yeah. Suppose that would be interesting, yeah.
Need power.
Yeah. Well, it would definitely be useful, because I'm often wanting to see... Okay, watch it this time, Jamerz. Also, feel free to split off one of the grunts. Yeah. And target his pawns first so that your grunts stay alive longer and can do more damage. No, don't look away. You've really got to focus on those attacks and micro that. Make sure you kill the things that can shoot you first. Then you kill the stuff that builds stuff, and then you can kill the eco structures, but it's got to be in that order. If you target the stuff that builds stuff first, then your army's gonna die because of the stuff that's already built, which doesn't actually gain you much at all.
Low power.
Commander has died.
Oh, that was close.
No. I thought you took more damage than that.
Battle.
He had 5%.
I did, but I got to degun all your grunts, which gave me XP.
I can't imagine that could have been enough, but apparently it was.
Yeah, I used to comp drop. That's how I got to 25 OS.
Plus, if you just spread out your grunts so don't get degunned, you do a slight bit more damage, and it's great.
So, did you just kitty corner the map to try and take my side?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be
Why?
less of a knife fight.
You wanted a knife fight. I mean,
I wanted to be like
that's
less
a
of one.
long route to a knife fight. You could have walked out my base.
I could have.
Battle started.
That's kind of lame.
I just was really, really surprised to see you there. I'm like, all right, welcome. Welcome to my home.
Yeah, I figured the moment you saw that I was spun on the other one, you would have expanded to it as fast as possible.
So, Jamerz,
I mean, huh?
these grunts sitting in the middle of the map here, not only do they not really block anything coming across, they also don't pose a threat or much vision utility. So if you want to be blocking alternate routes, spread them out a bit and like pop them in probably choke points like right here. Stops like this entire choke point, and you can kind of like, with 3 grunts, you can basically close off the entire map and close off those choke points just by being in those specific points on the map. And then just, you can send the rest there and find that, or don't even worry about the choke points and just keep them back. No, it's not about knowing where he was. It's about finding out where he is. This is how you do it. You stick 1 grunt there, and if he just hovers around this area, you have vision to all these hills, and that's plenty.
I have a grunt running in there.
Yeah, but he's over here.
Yeah, I assumed I was skirting around a base, and the army's sitting in like the fastest path to my base, like relatively that, like the main army.
This is why I'd say don't make these assumptions. If you think the base is over there anyway, send them right in here. And when this comes through here, send it right at there and pay attention so that you can see him as fast as possible and adapt to it as fast as possible. Yeah, he sees your grunt a little bit faster, but what he doesn't see and what you get to do is adjust everything behind that first initial grunt as soon as possible. And so if he comes here and you pay attention here, then you immediately see, oh, he's not here at all. These immediately go up there, and that saves you a bunch of time, and time is resources. Because it saves you having to build additional army, which means that your constructors go out and expand faster, which means that you get more resources from them, and you get more of an advantage, which snowballs, and you run away with the game and you win. Okay?
Makes sense.
And Longe, I would say a very similar thing. Send at least your first one just straight across the map. Maybe not quite straight across the map. I guess you're trying to, like, bait him into discovering that you're not there. But chances are, if he's playing at a decent clip, he's gonna find out that you're not there before you get down there to pretend that you're there. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, just don't be ashamed of where you start. Just run across the map and discover. I know these kind of have to go around the edge, but just run across the map. Yeah. And if you sent like a pawn across the map, because you've kind of got to do that because your ticks can't really go through all this water area, then that would get you that information a lot faster. This does work out for you, but yeah. If you want that information and you want the utility, that's a good, strong way to go. And then the other thing I'll focus on is mostly Jamerz. It's like this waypoint here. You send it straight here, it's going towards the factory. Whether he builds the factory here or the factory here, it's right near the factory. It's de facto defended, if there's a factory there. Unless he's like me and builds the factory over there, but still. What I'd say is head slightly to the side, at least, and definitely as soon as it gets close to this choke point, because there's a really high chance that there's something defending this choke point. A, because it's valuable. B, because it's the only place he can be. You want to pay attention as soon as you get near here, and you want to shepherd it the entire way in. Now, if your attention is here, queuing your commander out here, all you have to do in order to make this worth your time is, rather than queuing this mechs and then that and then those three, just queue this mechs and queue a move command that way, and then come back here and then micro this. You would kill, let's say optimistically, you kill this. Or you kill this, maybe one of these. Even if you just kill one of the mexes, that's worth you not having the time to queue this mex. Because that one mex gets you initial value now, and this mex that you've queued over here is going to take forever. And the time he spends building that mechs is more or less, depending, the time he would have spent building something else equally or more valuable. That he now has to spend building that. Because there's a lot this grunt could do. And because he's only just seen it, and at this point, you have the vision to know it's like, okay, maybe I could kill one of those two. Let's go for that one because it's further away from this. You don't know about this, but what you can do is you run towards this, you see that this pawn is here to defend it, and then you run down that way to discover that. It's a risk because you don't know if that's defended. You could alternatively run back out here, and then go around and meet there. But you want to be scouting that out, discovering what's on. Once you discover, okay, this is safe, let's go find somewhere else to attack.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll try and be more careful with my queues. I've been working on longer queues because I find it satisfying to set it up for as long as possible and hopefully still being efficient and whatever, but it usually saves me APM, but you're right, in this case I could have been using it.
Yeah. I think in some senses it saves you APM because, like, you're not back and forth between things. But in other cases, because you're focusing on something so long, that means other things go neglected. And so you have to dedicate more APM to it to make up for the more valuable things that you neglected. Like, adding to the queue at this point isn't worth it compared to the fact that this could already be moving over there, and if you'd have moved as soon as you saw the commander, you would have actually beat him over here. Now, even if you don't beat him over here, you can micro effectively, and potentially, maybe he has 4 of them or something. You can micro and do a bit of damage. I also, for various reasons, don't think this is worth taking. At the very least, because you're gonna be 40 seconds down on every metal extractor along that way that you build from this point on. More than that, actually, because you walked out there and then over to there. That is where's the commander. 110 seconds you spend doing that versus what you could have done, like 73 seconds.
LLTs right there, because I was trying to, like, divide the map, so I figured, like, a commander just jaunts out and, like, blocks that little gap and walks back, and then I saved myself the LLTs around the 3 mechs, zone them out, right? So I understand what you're saying.
I think your grunts are doing that enough at this point in the game, and I think it would be more worth it enough to take these mexes than do that, or something like that. Or even at that point, it would be worth building a constructor to go out there rather than there in the amount of resources it saves you. Because you're thinking, like, you're netting about what was it again to go out there and then back in there? Versus, where is it? 71. So yeah, you're netting on the order of 30 seconds per max. Between those 3, that's 180 metal net. That's plenty enough to stick 180 metal worth of grunts right there and defend it. And not as good as the LLT, but it's pretty good. And you can, like, send a constructor out there and build an LLT for about that sort of price. And then if that 30 seconds also is 30 seconds faster on each of these, then that ends you up. Like, by the time you've gone through all of them, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you're talking 400 metal ahead. Potentially even more, because having that metal earlier gets you benefit in other ways, right?
Right.
Like, for example, building an extra constructor and getting this max faster, which is extra metal ahead, plus defenses that destroy more units or units that do more damage or something. And then revisiting this, same topic again. This is just sitting here. It could just be paid attention to. He has so little defense that whether you go that way and see if he's vulnerable over there, or whether you go that way or destroy over there, you're talking at least 2 mexes that could have been destroyed. This way, 3 mexes, maybe 4. This way, 2 mexes plus con plus radar. Potentially, depending on how long exactly you had to do that damage, and how long for his pawn to get there and deal damage to you. So that's a lot of damage that you're losing. And if you destroy those and don't later have the APM to queue equivalent mexes because you destroyed those, that's worth it, I strongly believe. Would you disagree?
By the way, Lunge,
No, I just, you know,
Okay.
it was an APM stall. I didn't have the conscious thought of I'm going to chill on his base. I agree with what you're saying though. It's wasted potential.
Yeah.
by the way, Lunge, that radar was it didn't have any view of like the direction that you like expect him to come, which would be kind of more direct in the center because of that mountain. So it kind of just cut off. Like that's why that grunt managed to sneak through.
Yeah, I really didn't think about where I was going to place it. It took me like... I just thought about placing it, not about where I was going to place it.
Makes sense.
Slick like Vic in Twitch chat asks where Jamerz is getting the advice. Partly because because it's slightly more on topic of what I've just been talking about, and so I'm giving it examples and elaborating further. Rather than picking a player, I'm more picking a topic, and it's more on topic for the topic. But it would be good to get back there and talk about that, that resource and storage, because that's been a significant issue for all games, so I will get back to that. So, Jamerz, this is good with you coming in here with this attack. Finally, you're paying attention. Now, when we're talking about how to address this, my first priority here, pick this pawn off, because you can. And then, maybe pick those off. Once you've done that, or even while you're doing that, because you've got 8 here, that's more than enough to kill those easily. Then you can split one off over there and go and kill that. You don't need it, it doesn't need to be there, these are dead anyway. Once you kill this one, and then you've got, what, 6 versus 3? Then you can split another one off. Probably split off the dead ones, the most dead ones, because they're going to be of least use to you in the battle. You split them off, they come over here, they raid that, while these go kill that. Then you can regroup and see what's coming out of the base. By that time, the attack's probably shut down. And then you deal a lot more damage to him. Versus what we end up doing, we don't really line up for the attack. We see this fight here, but we leave these in a 2v2. If these come here and fight this, all lined up proper, this gets absolutely smashed before you can kill these two, and then you can still actually fight those. Not only that, you've got access to all this side of the base now.
Question, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so on that point, this is and this is Anti-Guardia.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are pawns versus grunts, and pawns are faster than grunts. So there's a sense in which those pawns can also kind of get away. And then you're kind of all over the place.
I don't think the speed difference is significant enough. You also have hills somewhat, plus if they get away from their base, that's where they need to be. And so, sure, they could run away and head over here, but this is well defended enough. So you want them to either run away or die. Because if they run away, they're not being useful. If they're dead, they're not being useful. Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. So worth noting, again, if we'd have killed that, you've still got 2 grunts alive because those 2 grunts were killed by that pawn. Those 2 grunts can kill this mech, etc. So we see more damage. Now we also see we've killed that constructor there. While that constructor was being shot down, we have this pawn over here, which I believe kills 2 grunts here. You have 2 grunts, you kill this rather than constructor, because the constructor, which was being repaired, has more health, significantly more health than a pawn. That's 690 versus 370. You kill the pawn, you probably keep 2 grunts alive still, is how fast you'd be able to kill it. Especially considering that you've done significant damage to these solars. I don't know if this is affected by the close thing, but you've done at the very least 70 damage to that solar, 40 damage to that, that's another 110, and you've done significant damage to that pawn as well. So that pawn would well and truly already be dead, and then you've got free reign to continue killing other things, including pawns. Now, he's got these pawns over here, but you actually have enough army that you could fight a lot of these pawns. Again, this pawn could already be dead, and you could still have 6 grunts alive here. 6 grunts kills this pawn so easily. This pawn dies, and then this pawn comes out. It dies too. You still kill this, and you've got the utility to kill a wind generator. Or, keep in mind you have 6 grunts left. You kill 1 too, and he has 4 pawns remaining. That is well and truly above enough to kill the rest of his pawns and kill the entire base. He's just dead there. He doesn't have to be able to be alive in this case. And what you could have done as a trade, while you're microing that, maybe you pull back for a moment, in a moment you pull this army back to here, somewhere safe. Actually, probably better to pull the army back over to there with your commander. If you have time, your commander stops doing stuff, builds laser towers, because what you're doing in here is far more important. Way more important than anything else that's going on out here. And really to the point where if all you did was draw all this army back and keep your commander alive, he's just straight up dead here because you've got a bigger army than him in his own base. Also, Lunge, I'd probably, as much as you can, set these construction turrets and just reclaiming his grunts. It would reclaim them so fast. 3 seconds per grunt and it's reclaimed. Less it's if it's already been damaged. So that's one of the most effective ways to kill grunts in your base, is just reclaim them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, construction turrets can be very useful.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, I didn't even see his pawn until you had said something. I'm like, oh hey, there's a pawn in the mix. What are you doing in there?
Yeah. Well, you need to pay attention to that. And final thing over here. We think about your commander over here, your grunts over here, his pawns over there. I presume you knew he had these already. You knew he had a laser tower. What you've done here is you've walked into essentially an even battle. Maybe slightly in your advantage. Would you say that's fair to say, that it was even or slightly in your advantage?
I only thought it was a slight advantage. I thought I was just going to barely get the snipe before his pawns could...
Yeah.
prove effective. But I also didn't. It was a mistake to have all my grunts so close together that a defense killed them. Like if they were spread out and they got a little bit more damage, it would have been fine.
Yeah, by the same token, if his pawns had been spread out, same thing. So, what I'd say is, generally speaking, while technically in this situation, destroying his commander is a game-ending scenario, so there is high reward available in this situation. I would consider this a high-risk, low-reward situation. You're basically even, commanders blowing up, so say if this is a 2v2 for example, basically even, commanders blowing up. Generally speaking, both of you are going to walk away from this battle losing almost exactly the same amount. Fair to say? Apart from one of you might win the game. What you could have...
about that.
What you could have done instead is opt for something like coming over here, fighting this, which would have been a battle significantly more in your favor. Maybe not enough more in your favor to actually take the battle, but it would have been better simply because your 13 grunts against 6 pawns and a laser tower is a better advantage, I would say. It's still relatively marginal.
I had the thought to ignore him. Like my initial reaction was to back up and then make either a vehicle or a bot lab and just push him out of that spot the hard way. But given the fact that I had like that army in the back, and I don't know, I kind of thought that I could squish him. I just had an inkling that I could get the snipe off there, and I was like, I might as well go for it.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit too ambitious there, but I my initial reaction was to save. I went for it, messed it up.
Yeah.
Bad.
Slick, just want to say, hyperfixating on some super advanced concepts, I don't think they're particularly advanced. I think that a lot of people don't know them, but I don't think they're particularly advanced. I actually think they're pretty simple. And they're the kind of benefits that are... they're the kind of benefits which are extremely impactful. I definitely think it's useful. And... respectfully, I have talked about the bar. Okay. But let's focus more on that because we do need to deal with that.
So when you have units like near your enemy's base, you'd pretty much put all of your focus into microing those units, trying to get damage, as opposed to like, oh, I'm just gonna put them one way and then try to focus on like building my base up. You just focus on microing those units.
I think it's more like have an awareness of what you have to gain and lose in each situation. If you have your units near his base, but he has impenetrable defenses, there is absolutely no point to waste any time poking and prodding that. Absolute waste of your time. But if you can kill stuff, then even a handful of pawns is going to be able to kill a huge number of enemy units way faster than you're going to be able to generate a return by building extra build power even. In most cases, some extreme cases, building the build power will be better. But most cases, actually using those units in his base is going to be better, especially this early into a game. Gotcha. And so you do need to make a decision. It's like, do I want to focus on my expansion now, or do I want to focus on dealing damage? And so it's more of a thing where if you're worrying about the difference between taking this mechs and microing units in his base, this mechs is really far away and is going to be really low return. Don't worry about it. Worry about this instead. But if you're worrying about the fact that literally all your energy has died, I would probably focus on the fact that literally all your energy has died and leave this army for slightly later, because you're not going to be able to destroy literally all his energy. And so it makes a much bigger impact to queue a bunch of solars, especially since you can queue a bunch of solars really quickly and then just go straight back over here and continue microing.
Well,
Okay.
while you're looking at Longe's base,
Yeah.
just wanted to bring up a small point. Where and how you build your initial egg of energy and stuff matters. And the point I want to bring up is like flow and commander's walking path.
Yeah.
The path that you want to send your commander either way is blocked, and now you got to walk around it. And you can make better use of the space around your commander to like put like the eco behind you, and you know, just cram more into his build range. So something to think about, and something that's worth practicing, is just like the flow of your base, like having like knowing what direction you want your commander to go and like leaving an open avenue that way or something like that. Like if you look at mine, all my eco is behind my commander and behind the lab, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not in front and it's not in the way, and my commander can like go upwards, which is what I want. And that's something that I do for all my maps.
I also
for all my games.
Like to think of it, you've got a path in each direction that you might want to go. If you want to go to this max, you've got a path to go there. Your comm wants to go this way or this way because you've sent a constructor this way. So this gap needs to be here or here. And if the gap was just there instead of there, you just switch those over, you're golden. Saves you huge time.
Yeah, definitely a habit to build into yourself.
But even that, I would say, is probably relatively minor too. I remember during this game, I said it's like, pay attention to your energy at some point, and you said something along the lines of, you have a plan. What was your plan to deal with your energy and keep things balanced this game?
I cannot remember that.
Okay. Come up with one.
I think I was just gonna build more energy. I've been trying like new stuff, like putting two cons on the same path. What I usually do is like keep it more spread out, more army, less cons.
Yeah.
I'm like so much metal, and then I just use all my APM focusing on the little armor units I have.
Yeah.
So all the greeting goes to waste.
Okay. Here's a very simple way to manage this.
Wait. I'm sorry, before you start your point, do you not have a res bot?
No, I did not make one this match.
Oh, man.
I'm going to ignore that because my last 1v1 I didn't make a red spot either.
Oh.
I'm just going to completely ignore that.
Alright.
Because it's a relatively small impact compared to the amount of change he needs. So, the first thing I'm going to say...
your metal.
The first thing I'm going to say is that you have one constructor walking this way building mexes. This constructor going this way building mexes. This one, you have nothing paired with it to build your energy. So the next time you build anything energy... Okay, you build a little bit with your comm, and then you build a build power, and then you walk out of your base. And then you just don't build any energy. You're basically on your starting energy once you have these additional 5 metal extractors. If this constructor
that was
here...
supposed to be because... Yeah.
Go on.
That's supposed to be because I forgot to give commands to my constructor right after I built the build turret.
What I would probably say and point you in the direction of, get this one building build power, building energy first. Especially because the energy that you're building is going to cost energy. And especially because even if, like, let's see, how long did that con spend idle? I don't think it was that long when it came down to it.
There was about 3 pawns worth
3 pawns?
idle. Yeah.
Wish the game loaded faster.
Battle started.
So at this point already, we're starting to fall behind. Like, we've got a significant amount of metal unused beside the energy. But this is number one why I'm saying, like, okay, let's look at your metal in storage. You've never dipped below 450 metal in storage. That's a big problem. Considering that this metal extractor here, this extra metal extractor that you built, and that you walked all the way over here for, this metal extractor has been alive for, if we say 3 minutes, 180 seconds. This produced you 360 metal, which you have not used ever. So if you're wanting to use that metal, you need to allocate more build power to using the metal rather than expanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just think I should focus more on army rather than greeting. Because
Fair.
I'm just overexpanding, and then I'm trying to do more with less units, and then that leads to underexpanding.
Fair. But even if we ignore the unit for the time being, these additional constructors, I would say this has much more utility over here building wind generators than coming out here and saving a little bit time on this expansion. Yes, you'll get the metal extractors up slower, to the tune of you'd probably say, how long is it per max? I think it's about 20 seconds per max. Yeah. It would be a little over 20 seconds per max, so you'd save about 10 seconds per max, which is a significant amount of extra metal. But you don't need that extra metal because you can't use it because you don't have energy. Rather than saving that, you can instead keep the constructor here, build wind generators. Much more valuable. Not only that, I think that's enough to talk about for just the moment.
And I just want to throw in that the position of that conturret. I've been telling people this. You can touch 4 mexes and the geo with 1 conturret.
Yeah, you can. I see that.
Yeah.
So I try to aim for that. It's
Almost 5 if you do it
It's
right,
like a
but-
small thing, because by the time you actually want to build the geo, you could build a second one that's in range. But like for the sake of super efficiency, you can totally get that first one on the geo range as well. A super minor detail, but can be very impactful.
Alright, so let's ignore contour position for now, because that's irrelevant to the problem at hand. Even boosting this out, I see we've got this construction turret done. We're still marginally, like, in a marginal position with the resources here. We've got plus 18 metal, plus 196 energy. That puts you in a situation where you're, even as you build pawns with all your build power, you're getting behind. So you're still getting further behind. So, yes, we could take this constructor and build these metal extractors along the way, or build wind generators for. But there's actually probably something more important that I'd say, and I want to relaunch it. The idea is if you build a bunch of metal before you build energy, you're going to have extra metal in storage that once you balance out your resources, you're never going to be able to use that energy with a balanced economy. So you're going to have to imbalance your economy at some point in order to be able to use that energy, that metal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So we need to decide when you're going to imbalance your economy in order to do that.
Battle started.
The time I would say to imbalance your economy, sooner rather than later, do it right now. You've started to do this by kind of ending up in, you've got plus 10, plus 139. You need to be aiming for more than that. Something like you've had an extra, 3 or 4 mexes for a short period. You want to aim to, like, I'd say, as a rough idea, I don't know what the exact number is, go for double. So you want enough energy that you can spam pawns on 8 mexes before you actually build the 8 mexes. And so the target then, I'd say, is 8 mexes would get you about 18 metal per second. Pawns are at your, what are they? 900 divided by 54. Sorry. I'll be right back.
So, on the note of breed walks, notice that they don't work. Kind of like Master Bell is talking about. You know, you can't spend it, and like, there's just a lot of nuance to it. Like, your initial thought about it should be that it pans out, like your commander is walking to grab those early mexes, but the time to get your lab up, and like, more often than not, getting your lab up is more important than having that extra metal, especially if you're fighting an aggressive opponent. So I've dissuaded myself from doing these greedy walks in the opening because it just doesn't really work out. It's more of a cheese. It's like putting yourself at an early disadvantage for the hopes of like a long-term one, but it's just not a very effective plan. So like I used to do stuff like this, and I might still, but I know better. Like I consciously know like I might be behind because of this, because I'm not just starting 2 or 3 mechs or something like that.
But
it's better to get the lab up earlier.
If you want to make it work, wait, did I turn my audio back on properly? Yeah, I did. If you want to make it work, your target for energy production before you get any of these mexes up should be something like 300 energy production. Then you can chew through this bar, and you can chew through that any way you want, be that pawns, be that, and if you do chew that, you can and will get a bunch of units out faster than the enemy, because at this point you have produced more metal than the enemy by a significant amount. And that's because you've had that mex for a significant amount of time. Let's see how long it takes Jamerz to get his next mex. By the time he gets that mex, sure, you've got extra mexes. You're something like 400 metal ahead. You've had time to take that and use it, put it into army or whatever you want to do with it. Problem is that 400 metal is still in storage. So yeah, you want to build the additional energy, and that'll give you time to chew through that extra. And then you also want additional build power, because you've got additional resources. You want to build your build power slightly early, so you build that extra energy, and then yes, you defend yourself with a little bit of army, but you make use of the fact that it takes like a large amount of time for him to cross the map. Maybe you even go defensive and build something like a Centurion, and you build a bunch more constructors out, and then with those constructors, you, in order to balance your economy, you make sure that you have for every constructor expanding, you have 1 constructor building wind generators. Or if you're going to build pawns for a long time, every 2 constructors you have expanding, you have 3 on wind generators. Or maybe like something like that. Does that sound something doable?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, what are the 2 main things I'm asking you to do, just to make sure you've got it?
I'm going to make more energy, less mech screening at the start, because I can't use it.
Yeah.
If I do use it, I focus more on energy so I can use the extra metal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you get a bunch of extra metal, then you need, for a time, a bunch of extra energy. And so you need to greed that energy just for a little bit. And then you need to pair your metal with some energy. Alright. I'm gonna call it there for now. I highly encourage you to practice what I've just talked about. Give it a couple games, but I'm out of time. I do want to thank everyone for hanging out both in Twitch chat and on Discord. I also want to say, if you want to see the widgets I've been using, head to my website, masterbell2.wordpress.com. It has a list of all the widgets that I use, and you can go and check them out. And yeah, if you want coaching, either head to the academy and drop a replay, or if you want to schedule a time specifically with me, you can reach out via my website. So yeah, thank you everyone again for hanging out, and I'll catch you next week.
See you, Bill. Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for running this.
Welcome. And you too, Twitch chat, thank you for watching. Check out my website. I've dropped a link to that in Twitch chat again. Thank you, Meowcat Mao, for the follow. And I'll catch you same time next week. Ciao.